You know what I realized? Making $200,000 a year is no money. Making $200,000 a year is nothing. It's literally nothing. I remember when I was younger, I used to think that making $50,000 a year was big money, that if you made $50,000 a year, you made it. And now as an adult, as somebody in my 30s, I realized that even making $200,000 is nothing. You're broke. And it's not because you're not good with money. It's not because you're not good at managing your dollars. It's because you can't do anything with $200,000 other than just survive. You're basically breaking even. In 2026, making $200,000 a year is the break even between poverty and middle class. I would argue that if you make less than $200,000, you're broke. You're poor. You have nothing going on. Because what you realize when you start to make the 200K a year is that you're not there. You're not making it. There's people that are making 200K a week, a month. You're making $200,000 a year and you start hanging out with the ballers. You start to realize that you ain't shit. You haven't done anything. You got a long way to go, buddy. You're on level 1. What I realized pretty quickly once I started to make some money, once I was able to get into the rooms where there's really wealthy people, really successful people, is that I have a long way to go. I was at a disadvantage. I was below 1. When you're making less than $200,000 a year, you're below 0. You're in the negative. You're impoverished. A lot of you guys think that if you make 6 figures, you've made it, that you're out of the poverty zone. But the truth is that once you make those 6 figures, you're going to start to meet people that make real money. And you're going to start to realize that you ain't shit. You haven't done anything. You haven't accomplished anything. You can't afford any of the things that you truly want because your goals are going to change. Your horizon is now broadened. You can see the full landscape, and the landscape is completely different than what you imagined. When you're a poor person making under $200,000 a year, little things that are normal, average, everyday shit for people that make real money are goals for you. Getting a BMW or a Mercedes, getting a Rolex. Those things don't mean anything. None of that stuff is an accomplishment. That's ground zero. The problem is that so many of us were born, grew up in extreme poverty, and we didn't realize it. When you're in extreme poverty, common things to you seem like extravagance. I remember when I first came to America from Panama, I was completely broke. I was below whatever poverty is here. I was in extreme poverty, third world poverty. And I remember that my dad took us to Golden Corral, and I thought Golden Corral was a 5-star restaurant. I swear to God. But then after a few months of living in America and making minimum wage, I realized that Golden Corral wasn't shit. The same thing happens to you when you get to the $200,000 mark. Things that you thought were extravagant, going to an amusement park, Disney, Universal, eating out at nice mid-tier restaurants, going to a resort, traveling, those things don't mean anything. Those things are commonplace. You can do that on a whim. But then when you look at the other people that are above you and you see what they're doing, that's when it hits you. I'm still poor. I have all this money and I'm still poor. What, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in my bank account, and I'm still poor. My investments are booming, but I'm still poor because everything is relative. When you see some guy traveling in a private jet every week and you're flying commercial, even if you're flying first class, you're like, damn, okay, I want to do that. I want to be on the private jet. When you see a guy not renting a yacht, owning a yacht, you're like, damn, I want to own a yacht. When you pull up to the event in a McLaren 570S and you think you're the shit, and then some guy pulls up in a Lamborghini SVJ, some guy pulls up in a Bugatti Chiron, then you realize that there's levels to this game and you're on level 1. Now it's up to you to lock in and get to the next level. Work your way up that social pyramid. But the thing is that your mindset needs to change. Too many of us have a poverty mindset. Right now, if you're impoverished, if you're making below $150,000 a year and you think that you made it, you need to wake up. You need to look around. You need to make new friends. Your friends are a key component on you realizing what level of life you're on. If you're surrounded by people that are underneath you, you're making $100,000 a year, but your friends all make $50,000 or $40,000 or $30,000, you're not going to realize that you're not at the top of the hill. You're going to become delusional, thinking that you made it and that you're somebody. But go get some friends that are making $1 million a year. Go make some friends that are making $1 million a month. And you're going to realize pretty quickly that you have a lot to go. This game is not over. You're not in the new game plus, brother. You're on level 1 of the game. You're on level 1 of the game. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of things you need to do. There's a lot of grinding that's going to be ahead of you. And it's up to you whether you do it or not. But you can't sit back and just relax. You can't coast. Yes, you can have a family now. You can afford a little house, maybe a decent car, but that ain't life. That's just living. Because $200,000 a year ain't shit. It ain't shit. I make between $150,000 and $200,000 a year, and I live frugally. Bailey and I, we cook our own meals most of the time. We don't travel. We don't do any of that stuff. I have investments. I look at my investments. I look at all of the stuff, and I realize that I ain't shit. Yes, I have a little bit of money in the bank account. Yes, I had a nice car. Yes, we live in a nice area. Yes, I can buy whatever clothing I want. But life, this is not about getting some Gucci or some, what is this? Some Armani, or having a nice watch, or driving a mid-tier, low-tier supercar. There's so much more than this, man. There's so much more. Having $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 in the bank in investments, that ain't nothing. There's some guys out here that are making that every week. You need to level up. You need to realize that you aren't there yet. You need to get on your grind. You really do. And I'm starting to wake up. I've been woken up. When I started hanging out with the guys with the supercars, driving my little 570S, I realized it. I looked around, I saw the other people, I saw their lifestyles. I went to their houses and I was like, okay, there's a lot of room for me to grow. There is a lot of room for me to grow. The car is the tip of the iceberg. If you meet a guy driving an SVJ, for the most part, if he's not a grifter, he's not a LARPer, you go to that guy's house, that house is going to be ginormous. It's going to be a fucking mansion. You look at his kids, his wife, the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they act. That's when you start to realize that for you to become successful, for you to get past a level where you're making $100,000 or $200,000 a year, there's a lot of things that you need to do. There's a lot of groundwork that you need to cover. You need to start figuring out who you are as a person and what you want to do, what direction you want to go in, what your goals are. You need to start waking up earlier. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, but what are you doing with those 24 hours? Because this guy with the SVJ is not doom scrolling on Instagram, bro. He's not. He's making moves. Every single day he makes moves. Every single day he talks to people. He networks. He goes out. He looks for the next thing. He's not sleeping in. He's hitting the gym. He has his shit together. His family has their shit together. His kids have their shit together. They read books. They eat healthy. Everybody's locked in. His friends are locked in. His network is locked in. He's not hanging out with losers. If you hang out with a bunch of losers, you're going to become a loser too. That's how this works. If you spend your whole day looking at loser content, looking at drama, slop, chaos, negativity, your life will be shit. It will be garbage. You won't get anywhere. Most of the time when you're watching that kind of content, you're coping. You want to watch somebody who's beneath you, somebody who's having a tough time. You want to watch some obese people that are struggling with their weight. You want to watch some people with relationships that are collapsing. You want to watch people that are way beneath you so you can feel good about where you're at. You can say, oh, I'm making these $200,000, but this guy's only making $20,000. I'm so much better than him. It's a cope. It's all a cope. You need to wake up and you need to do better, because the people that are really making it in this world, they're not doing that. They're not coping. They're not looking at people beneath them to get a rise, to feel better about themselves. They're looking up. They're looking up. They're directing all of their energy toward the next thing, the next phase. What phase are you on? You need to document this stuff. You need to grab one of these and start writing down what you want to do, where you want to be. Who do you want to be? Become that person. Change your mindset. Nobody's going to do it for you. It is so easy to get stuck at the $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year mark, thinking that you've done something because you started at a disadvantage. You started in poverty. You started at a level where Everybody thought it was impossible to make 100K, 200K, let alone 300K. But it ain't shit. You need to start to talk to people that are really doing it, because those people will wake you up to the reality of your situation. You started at ground zero, below zero. But now it's time for you to get to the next level. Go from level 1 to level 2, making $1 million a year. Go from level 2 to level 3, making that $200,000 you were making a year in a week. It's not impossible. It really isn't. I thought it was impossible until I started talking to people and meeting people that were really doing it, seeing their lifestyle, seeing what their dedications are, what their discipline looks like, what their routine looks like. And I know some of you will cope, some of you will get mad with this video, and that's okay. If you want to stay at the $200,000 a year mark, if you're happy with that, who am I to judge you? But if you want to be a real fuck you to the world kind of guy, a guy who can do whatever he wants, nobody's holding you down, you don't need to be accountable to anybody other than yourself, then it's time for you to lock in. Get to that next level. It all comes down to mindset. If I see somebody making $200,000 a week and I observe their life, I talk to them, and I realize that they're just a normal person just like me, if they can do it, I can do it. That's the mindset you need to have. If they can do it, I can do it. Nobody is special. It's all about how much you can control your mind. How much pain are you willing to endure to get there? What are you willing to sacrifice? Most of you aren't willing to sacrifice anything. And that's the reason why you'll never be great. You'll never even get to this level. I know that. I know that a lot of people watching this video right now don't even make the 6 figures. And if you don't make 6 figures, it's up to you to get there. But a lot of you are going to cope. A lot of you think it's too hard, that it's impossible. Making $10,000 a month is too difficult. And the truth is that making $10,000 a month is level 1. It's level 1. That ain't no accomplishment. Getting a BMW, getting a Mercedes. You know, I always bring up the BMW Mercedes thing because when I was growing up, my parents made it seem like getting a BMW or a Mercedes was, you made it in life. You were a gazillionaire. You were Cruella de Vil, Scrooge McDuck. But then I realized as an adult that those cars ain't shit. A BMW or Mercedes cost $35,000, $40,000, $50,000. That ain't shit. You need to lock in for real, for real. And you know what the thing is? The crazy thing is that nowadays with inflation, having a McLaren 570S, having a Porsche 911, they're the equivalent of having a BMW in the 90s and 80s. They ain't shit. There's so much more above that. Look around. Start to observe. Because once you start observing how real people with real money move, it will change your entire mindset. 200K is nothing, man. It ain't shit. Lock in. Let's get there. Let's become multimillionaires. I'm on the grind too. I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. So let's work together. Hit that subscribe button. The journey, the path, it's ahead of us. Let's lock it in. Let's get there, boys. I'm out. Peace.